Hello. Hi. What's up, good people? How's it going? It's a pretty nice morning here. So, good morning. Today we're going to talk about madness, something that I am pretty familiar with. So, it must be a piece of cake, this video for me. Most people avoid madness because they're afraid of being mad, they're afraid of going mad, they're afraid of being treated like a mad person. But in fact, if you don't ever act mad, go mad, I don't think you will ever have a chance to find your way out of this life because that will only lead you to loneliness. Acting mad is the first principle of getting rid of external mind. Acting mad or going mad is the first step toward self realization. When you act mad, when you are not sane anymore, you basically cannot take yourself serious anymore. And taking yourself serious will only lead you to isolation, will only put you in a box that is labeled dead. That box is labeled dead. Because you can only be dead serious. You cannot be simply serious. And when you are dead serious, you're pretty much done. There is no hope for really freeing yourself from whatever is going on to you. But when you don't get yourself too serious, you allow yourself to just be playful. You allow yourself to really go mad. Even if you end up in a psychiatric hospital, at the end you know that you're not really truly mad. At the end, you know that perhaps the nurses and doctors are more mad than you. But that's what we do. Insane people treat sane people. That's the catch in this world. And as soon as you realize this, then your insanity is in fact your freedom. Then your insanity is in fact the way out. But I get it, it's not so easy to go mad, it's not so easy to change the way you live. But it takes some time. In the beginning might be hard, in the beginning might be challenging to perhaps take yourself off the world, off people's head, because most of the time we really live in not even inside our own head, because as soon as you live inside your own head, then madness is easy. You might think you're living inside your own head. You might think that just the collective understanding of us is always living in our own head, but in fact that's not the case. We live in other people's head. That's just how it works. At least in the modern world, we live in other people's head. We don't live in our own head. As soon as you live in your own head, then there are two things possible. Either you gotta act mad, either you gotta act insane. And this act is not something that you simply put up as a performance. It's just simply an act that your brain guides you through it. Or you become lonely, you know. There is no other way. Like the reason that everyone is going through this loneliness is because they're realizing that everything they do is somewhat stupid. Everything they do is somewhat not the real deal. Therefore, you have to isolate yourself. Therefore, you become lonely because you don't want to deal with other people's performance, because you don't want to deal with the worldly things. And isolation is the only escape. Or perhaps going mad, but we are afraid of that. We don't want to go mad. No one wants to go mad, you know. It's like we all think madness is just not a choice. Madness is something that happens to us. But in fact, madness is a choice, you know. Most people in the history, they went mad by choice, you know. That's a very important thing. You got to realize that the only way you can show the world that what we are living right now and how we are living is kind of dead serious is by making a fool out of yourself. The rest doesn't matter, you know. It's like as long as you make a fool out of yourself, then you simply show the world that not only I am mad, you're also mad, you know. It's like it's simple, it's not so complicated. Therefore, we gotta allow ourselves to do something a little bit a little bit more fun than usual. You gotta learn how to have fun without being inside the dead box, you know. The dead box is really not fun. And to come out of the dead box, we need to get rid of others people's head, you know. We gotta get rid of this external stupidity. We gotta get rid of this external way of living that it does not suit us. Hmm. I thought I have more in me about madness, but it seems like I'm not mad enough for this video today. Yeah, it's all a game anyway. It's all just some sort of play. We just gotta realize that this play must stay unscripted, you know, not serious at all. We just gotta understand that this cannot be planned. This life cannot be simply planned. This has to be mad. This has to be insane. And only then you can perhaps free yourself from certain bondages in life that you cannot do it at the moment. You know, it's like it might feel very distant to you to go mad. It might feel very distant to you what I'm talking about, because you're like, well, what is it? How is it to go mad? It's simple. It's not that difficult. It's just simply saying yes to whatever your brain is telling you, and then you will realize that it's so easy to go mad. You know, it's so easy to go simply against the crowd. It's so easy to go against the mass mentality, because mass mentality is always in the serious state of life. If they are not serious, then what they're gonna do? You know, it's like this world only function based on discipline and seriousness. Other than that, there is no playfulness in the world. You know, there is no have fun in the world. You know, no one just comes to you and says, yo, it's time to have fun. No, everyone comes to you and says, it's time to do business. You know, it's time to do something serious. It's time to do something absolutely essential to our future. But in fact, nothing is essential to our future. Like, literally, nothing is essential to our future, because our future can simply not exist. You know, it's like I can die while making this video, you know. And this is not something extraordinary. You know, everyone dies, and people die all the time. You know, it's like while I'm making this video, I don't know how many minutes this will be, but I'm sure that thousands of people die through this video. You know, it's like the entire length of this video perhaps kills so many people right now. It might not be directly connected to it, but you get it. You know, it's the butterfly effect of me making this video. It's just simply killing people. And this killing is not necessarily what I'm doing. You know, it's like it's happening. It's just like I make this video, people die. And that's exactly how things work. You know, you do things and people die, and people do things and you die. You know, it's like it's simple. It's just like ever going process of life and death. And if you realize this, you realize that, well, what's the point of this future? You know, what's the point of planning? What's the point of just like strategizing? What's the point of being serious in life? Because as soon as you become serious, then you cannot be playful. That's the problem with people having children. You know, as soon as they have children, they're not playful anymore. They become serious, they become adults. They just want to now train other little people to perhaps act sane and be serious in their life. But what's the point of it? You know, it's like, how can we come out of this seriousness and be playful rather than just like, you know, bullshitting each other into this life? There's no point in it. You know, there is no reward by the end of this life. It's just simply your information perhaps passed on to the next life and next life and next life. What do you want to do then? You know, it's like at some point you gotta go mad. You know, at some point you gotta allow your brain to do what your brain wants to do. You know, and stop the, you know, the barricade. Don't barricade your brain. You know, what's the point of it? What's the point of just like creating all these blockage all the time? Another morning, another stream of consciousness. You thought I'm gonna say bullshit, huh? No. This one is true consciousness. Look at it. Beautiful. Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, don't really listen to others, like in a way, be your own person, be your own brain, be your own simply solo mind, but don't be lonely. It's like this loneliness is not the way, because loneliness will always keep you in that dead box. You don't want to be in the dead box. Regardless of whatever we do in this world, how pathetic this might look like, but the dead box is not the way out. The dead box is the way to die without ever having a chance to be playful. Mm, mm, mm. It's okay. It's okay. It's fine. I don't need to explain it further. I just wanted you to know that it's fine to respond to your impulses. It's fine to respond to your don't know what to do in life, but you just gotta respond to it. It's just like you gotta do it. Otherwise, there cannot be any possibility of freeing yourself from other people's mind. It's like you live other people's life. Realize this, regardless of how absurd this might sound like to you, but you really live someone else's life. And I'm just saying, perhaps take a good look at it and stop living someone else's life. Live your own life. And if you don't know how to live your own life, my friend, meditate. Meditate and allow your brain, allow your mind to go mad. Do not stop it. Do not block it. Let it just simply release the madness. And don't be afraid of other people's judgment. It's like, what's the point of it? People's gonna judge you either way, mad or not mad. At least have fun. At least be playful. At least do things that it will help you, that your mad is the opposite of other people's sanity, other people's seriousness. Only then you win. That's the only time in life you can win. Anyways, you take care of yourself. Much love. Bye.